I've been in this manifestation journey for the last 8 years. And throughout these 8 years, I've noticed that there's always one main theme that keeps popping up. And this theme has been discussed throughout the ages by all the ancient sages, in particular, the yogis talked about this. And there's this quality of awareness that's always coming up. Awareness, consciousness. The sages talk about being present to the moment. And I've always struggled to harmonize that with manifestation teachings, because manifestation teachings are more so think positive, think positive, think positive. But it's not enough to think positive. It's not enough to change your mind, because whenever you try to change something, you're fighting against yourself. So in today's video, I teach you how to take a step back and abide as awareness. And one powerful exercise that I've been using over the last 8-9 years, every single hour throughout the day, to take a step back and step into awareness. Because once you step into awareness and your cup is empty, only then can you create something that you truly want to experience. Otherwise, what happens is anything you visualize and want to manifest gets dirtied up by old programming. Old things that you've held to be true, old identities that you've held onto, they influence the new thing you're trying to create. And that's why most people never get a permanent result in their lives. They see something happen, they manifest it, then they quickly lose it, because the old self always comes back. So I show you how to clean up and empty the cup so that you can fill it up with what you truly want and completely reinvent yourself. One of the greatest things I've heard within the last year was through reading Florence Scovel Shinn, The Game of Life and How to Play It, where she said, fear is faith in evil, and love is faith in good. Fear is faith in the devil, love is faith in God, that something good will happen to you. And when you really think about this, when we fear, we're expecting and anticipating something bad to happen to us. So in order to detach or unattach from the fears that you have in daily life, in order to create the outcomes that you want to create in your life, what needs to happen first and foremost is there needs to be a separation between this state of consciousness or awareness and personhood, the character that you embody every single day. Because when we get so involved in the character's drama, we become so attached to it, we forget that we're simply wearing a mask. What happens then is we become the mask. So when the character in the play, kind of like you watching a movie, a horror movie, when you become so entrenched in the drama of the character, you move with the ups and downs of life. When something good happens, you feel good. When something bad happens, you feel bad. And because of that, you're no longer the observer. You're no longer the witness. So one of the main things I like to do every single day to take a step back from this character is center my attention. This is what we teach our clients, the very first thing we do. In order to center your attention, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. Who am I? Where am I? And what am I doing? Now, these questions weren't meant to be answered intellectually, but rather experienced. It's an experiential phenomenon. So when I ask myself, who am I? Immediately I've taken a step back from the character, because I cannot be the character. If I can watch the character and look at the character, I cannot be it. Anything I can look at and observe, I am not it. I am that which I cannot look at, because I can only look as that thing. So that quality of observation, the quality of watching and witnessing, that has always been, is, and always will be. That quality has remained the same ever since you were a conscious sentient being at the age of 4, where you could, even when you're a kid, you just don't have memory of it, right? So that thing has always been, even perhaps before birth. We don't know that, right? Always been, is, and always will be. Even when you turn 80, 90, 100, if you live that long, that same quality of awareness and attention will be there. The issue is we lose touch with it. That awareness and attention is so sticky. Anything it looks at, it becomes identified with. When I look at the problems in my life, I become identified with those problems. Have you ever noticed how you have small petty problems in your life, but then you actually start to compare your problems with someone else, maybe in an impoverished country, who's going through something 10 times worse than you are, and then you're like, oh, my problems in the grand scheme of things are actually not that big of a problem. But you only realize that in perspective when you look at the 2 different situations. That's how this quality of attention works. Anything it is directed to, it immediately gets attached to. So in order to unattach from that, we need to realize that we're looking at that thing by abiding as awareness. There's a great practice called self-inquiry. And the basis of self-inquiry is inquiring to the self by this process of asking yourself the three questions. Who am I? Where am I? Getting a spatial awareness. And what am I doing right now? What is this character doing right now? Because this is not me. This flesh, bone, blood, it's not me. It is simply a character that is being embodied. As soon as you can take ownership of that I'm not this. This is simply an article of clothing or a mask that is being worn right now. The sooner you can do that, the sooner you can begin to create the life that you want. Because the first and foremost condition that needs to be satisfied to manifest what you want, and no one tells you this because they don't really understand this, you can't create from the same state of consciousness that created what you're experiencing right now. You can't create anything different. To step away from this state of consciousness, there needs to be an unattachment, a space. And that space only happens when you center your attention by asking yourself the three questions and you fully realize deep in your heart that this is not me. This reality that I'm experiencing, it's a temporary experience which is subject to change. This body, this name, this persona, personality, what I own, what I have, what I call myself, it is always subject to change. When you realize that, now you have the choice, the potential to create what you want in the next moment from a different place of being. If my cup is already full, I can't fill it up with anything else. I can't be open to receiving anything else. Only when it's empty, I abide as awareness, formless, that now I can choose a new identity to embody. And in accordance with that identity, who I'm being, what I do will follow and what I have will follow. Being, doing, having. An exercise that you can do every single day, this is what we recommend to our clients, is learning to ask yourself these three questions every single hour. So what our clients do within the first 6 weeks of working with us is they set a timer on their phone that goes off once every hour. And once it goes off, they ask themselves the three questions. Whatever they're doing, they're taking a step back from that. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? It's almost akin to waking up in reality. Have you ever woken up in a dream and you realize that you can control it? What would happen if you actually woke up in reality? You gain the power to influence events. But if you're a slave to whatever's happening right now, you're being pulled by the activity, you're being pulled by the story you're telling yourself, oh, work sucks, I'm always stuck at the same level in my business, these problems always keep happening. Now, when you're in that dialogue, all of a sudden your alarm rings, you take a step back, you're like, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? I am awake, I see myself and I see my reality. So once you begin to do this once every single hour, within a matter of 4 weeks, around 21 days, what you're going to notice is you're going to develop this quality of not getting attached to anything. Okay? When you don't get attached to anything, now you have the choice to influence that next event that will happen in your life. So 3 to 4 weeks long, just 21 days, every single hour, set an alarm on your phone. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Answer these questions experientially. You don't say like, I'm Quazi and I'm here and I'm doing this. It's more like getting a realization. Because all the ancient sages, they talked about the phenomenon of realization. I have realized, I have attained. Attained what? The truth, the knowledge of the truth. But the knowledge of the truth happens experientially, not intellectually. Like you can intellectually answer this question, who am I, where am I, what am I doing? But that's not as effective as experientially feeling there is a character. I am. I simply am. I am not this character, but I just am. There is a watching of this character. This is the environment. Quasi's in this environment. And he's making a video. I'm no longer identified with this persona that's doing this. It's simply happening and I am watching it happen. I'm not interfering. I'm not trying to change it. Anytime you step in and you try to change it, you interfere, you immediately get attached. That's the only way you can make a change or do something, is you become attached, you take a position, and then you make a change. But if you simply silently watch and intervene only when it's the right time to do so, you now become a conscious creator of your life because you choose when to intervene. You choose to consciously identify with whatever you want to create. Otherwise, you're unconsciously identified with what your parents told you, what society told you, what your friends told you, what your teachers told you, what you heard on television, heard on the radio, what you saw in books, you become an unconscious identity, an unconscious collection of all those things. So the goal to create what you want is to consciously create that in your life by choosing when you step down from witness mode to consciously identifying with that identity you wanted to create. When you begin to center your attention and you've taken a step back from your current persona identity, now you can create. In order to create, there are a few mechanisms or exercises that we can use. Some people are very visual, and I prefer the visual sense. Some people are auditory. For the people who are more visual, I recommend visualizing. And for that, I made a comprehensive video that goes through the process of visualization. You can click right here to access it. And for people who love affirmations and they love listening and they feel energized and powerful, I made a comprehensive video on affirmations and how to correctly use them and combine them with confirmations. So I made a detailed video on that right here. They're both very, very comprehensive, like at least 30 minutes long, and they have guides attached to them as well.